So the International Organization of Securities Commissions, called IOSCO by acronym, sets aside this week, so October the 2nd to the 6th, as the week to improve investor education around the world. So securities and exchange commissions across the planet, from Wall Street to Broad Street, rolled out a number of exercises to improve investors' education, a global campaign to raise awareness about the importance of investor education around the world. So Nigeria was part of that, and our own SEC were part of that as well. So let's cross over to Abuja studios and bring on the program Henry Rowland, who is a director in charge of market development at the SEC, to take us through what's been planned for this week and what's been done, and why investors' education is very important, in particular in our own jurisdiction, which is developing markets. Mr. Rowland, good morning and good to have you on the program.
Good morning, Mr. Bosun. Thank you very much. And distinguished Nigeria, good morning to you.
Thank you for coming on the show. Now, why is this investor awareness globally important? Of course, Nigeria holds the chairmanship of Middle East and Africa as far as Securities Organization is concerned. Why is this investors awareness globally? Why do you think IOSCO set this week aside to raise more awareness about the market?
Thank you very much, Bosun. IOSCO, which, as you will know, is the acronym of International Organization of Securities Commissions globally, set aside every year 1 week to celebrate investors. Because just like you agree with me, there is no market if there are no investors. And so for the purposes of educating investors to know exactly how to invest their money and to be able to exercise their rights, the global community of capital market regulators world over set aside one solid week. And in the 2017 edition, it starts from the 2nd to the 8th of October to go around and educate investors, to enable them know what products are best suitable for them and most profitable to them, to educate them on what are their rights, and to let them know what capital market regulators are doing to protect their investment in the market, such as the essence of the Investor Week.
Part of what the IOSCO says, Mr. Rowland, is the need to also re-highlight the importance of protection of investors' money and securities in the market, and the various initiatives that various SECs around the world, whatever name they are called, are carrying out, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct. Investor protection is quite critical to market regulators and indeed to IOSCO, because as individual investors, if you put in your money and you are not able to reap anything out of it, you will not be encouraged to put in more money. And when investors don't put in more money, then the market would be shallow. The objective of getting the investors to know how protected they are, how protected the investment will be, is to instill confidence in the investors and to bring in additional investors or potential investors, thereby deepening the market as expected. Such is why IOSCO has attached great importance to the protection of investors. And I can tell you that the Securities and Exchange Commission, in joining the global community of IOSCO members, has put in place a number of initiatives which you're already aware of, or Nigerians are aware of, including e-dividend registration, direct cash settlement, and a number of other initiatives to ensure that investors' confidence are instilled through the protection of their investment.
Let's revisit investor education in Nigeria. How much do you think we've done? How much do you think you have done that the SEC has done as a market regulator? But it looks like from what IOSCO is saying, the SEC has the primary responsibility to educate investors and to hold everyone in the market accountable.
Thank you very much. The SEC, within this week alone, the SEC has put in place a number of initiatives towards educating investors. For example, yesterday, the Securities and Exchange Commission went to the Kuje Area Council of the Federal Capital Territory to organize what is called a financial inclusion program, a financial inclusion outreach, whereby over 300 participants, market women, artisans, teachers, and all kinds of people were on ground to be educated on the various areas where they can invest their money, how they can make savings towards investment, how the money they have saved can be effectively and accurately and correctly invested, and what they should expect to reap from their investment. Such were the things we did yesterday. Today, as I speak with you now, the SEC has moved to the University of Abuja community to educate the students. We call it Students' Enlightenment Campaign. Whereas, even before students are graduated, they have understanding of what they can invest in the capital market and what they expect to reap over a period of many years. So that as students, if they put in their money today, then in some few years to be, they have an understanding of what they will get and how their investments are protected. In addition to that, as we plan, tomorrow by the special grace of God, the SEC is going to storm Lagos with what is known as an investor clinic program. In that program, we have invited a number of experts, the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the Securities and Exchange Commission. We have invited stockbrokers. We have invited registrars to come and attend to any issues, regular issues, and any ordinary issues or extraordinary issues that investors may have. They will attend to them, just like the name clinic suggests, such as the things we have put in place this week. As for what we have done in past years, you will recall that the SEC has undertaken a number of roadshows. The SEC has undertaken a number of town halls. The SEC has launched an investor education portal for the purposes of potential and existing investors to be able to examine some of their things. We have recently launched bulletins that will educate investors. We have published publications that we distribute freely as a capital market regulator in Nigeria. And we have employed and enjoined other members of the community, intermediaries like stock exchange, stockbrokers, and the rest of them, to hold similar organizations. Recently, the Nigeria Stock Exchange held an investor clinic in Lagos. And so all these are the things that the SEC is overseeing to ensure that investors are properly educated on the areas of where to invest and how their investments are protected, and for them to know their rights in the market.